even before Christian times. This play, Antigone by Sophocles, it's a 5th century tragedy by a ancient Greek author, Sophocles, talks about the higher law, talks about a law being higher than human law, than the laws given by the rulers. So that's like a first testimony of natural law. Let me read some passages for you. The story here is that in the city of Thebes, there has been a civil war, 2 factions fighting each other, and 2 brothers were each of them fighting on each of the sides, okay, so the opposite sides. Finally, one of the sides wins the war. This guy comes to power, called Creon. He's like a despot. And then he, of course, inflicts as much punishment as he can on the losing side. And one of his first rulings is that this guy, of the 2 brothers, the one who fought against him, will not be buried, should not be buried, should be left to rot in the open and eaten by the birds and the animals, okay? And Antigone, his sister, says, no, that's not possible, because to bury the dead is a moral duty. It's one of the first human duties that we have. By the way, do you know what the word human means? Human? You know, have you heard the word exhume? You know what to exhume a dead body is, to exhume a corpse? To unbury a dead person, that's to exhume. Same root, hume. Human, to hume means to bury. Humans are those who bury their dead. As simple as that. Those are humans by definition. Supposedly, that's something only humans do. Now we are finding out that even elephants and other animals do that too, okay? So by definition, if we were to follow just this kind of a strict definition idea, then those animals would have some human element in them, okay? Okay, so let me read from Antigone. So Antigone goes ahead and she buries her brother. And then she's caught. She's caught by the guards. And she's brought before Creon, before the tyrant. And this is the dialogue that takes place. Creon says, do you, I say you with your downcast brow, own or deny that you have done this deed? And Antigone replies, I say I did it. I deny it not. And Creon says, take yourself hence, whither you will, sir knave. He's telling the guard he can go. You are acquitted. Because for a moment they thought the guard had done it, had buried this guy, but now he knows it's Antigone, okay? Did you know the order not to do it? He tells Antigone. Yes, I knew it, she says. What should hinder? It was plain. Creon, and you dared to overstep my law? Antigone. Now listen to this, okay? This is the important passage. Because it was not Zeus who ordered it, Zeus, God, the highest God for the Greeks, nor justice with a capital J, meaning the divine justice. Dweller within the neither gods gave such a law to men. Nor did I deem your ordinance of so much binding force as that a mortal man should overbear the unchangeable, unwritten code of heaven. This is not of today and yesterday, but lives forever, having origin whence no man knows, whose sanctions I were loath in heaven's sight to provoke, fearing the will of any man. I knew that I should die, how otherwise, even although your voice had never so prescribed, and that I die before my hour is due, that I count a gain. For one who lives in many years as I, how should he fail to gain by dying? So anyway, she goes on to say, I don't care, you're going to kill me, but I was more afraid of violating this higher law than of violating your law. So she's contraposing the law of Creon, the mandate of Creon not to bury her brother, with this higher law. He says, your ruling is not coming from God, and I am more afraid of violating this higher law. So here we have a first testimony of natural law. And then among the Romans, too, with some Roman authors, such as Cicero, also talks about morality, about natural law in this same context. Okay? Now, how do we prove that the moral law and positive law are two different things? Well, I said the origin, to begin with, is different. We do not legislate morality. I mean, some churches may do a little bit legislate morality now and then, but in general, we do not legislate morality. Okay? In fact, morality is, as I said, something which we seem to know instinctively. Natural law says that morality is objective and universal. Now, don't forget this, okay? This is very important, so make a note of it. For natural law theory, morality, or from the point of view of natural law theory, morality is objective and universal. What this means is it doesn't change from place to place. It's always the same. It doesn't depend on how you feel or how you were educated, how you were brought up. Morality stays the same, meaning what is right today was right 1,000 years ago and will be right 1,000 years from now. What's wrong today was wrong always, even though we may not recognize it or people may not have recognized it years ago. So slavery is wrong. It was wrong when it was practiced. It will always be wrong. The fact that it was practiced at the time didn't make it any more right. It was wrong. It was just something wrong which was being done, okay? So I usually ask students, say, you go to a country where you see things being done that you think are very wrong, or you don't like them. Do you think you have the right to tell those people, stop doing what you're doing? That's wrong. Well, of course you know the answer, but the answer is yes. Not only do you have the right to do that, you have the obligation to do it. If you see that at a place they're killing babies, for example, because they don't need any more babies or any more girls, they just keep the boys, well, killing the innocent is wrong everywhere. And it doesn't make any difference where it is practiced. It is wrong everywhere. Universally, it's wrong, okay? And the idea is that we are born with that innate knowledge. We don't learn it. We see it and we know what is right and what is wrong. And therefore we have an obligation to avoid the wrong and to perform what is right, okay? And that doesn't vary. Now, as I said, natural law is a moral theory, and you could say a moral religious theory, but there are secular versions of natural law. You know what I mean by secular? The word secular, the word secular means non-religious. It doesn't mean anti-religious or against religion. It just means non-religious. The word secular comes from Latin seculum, which means century. It's like saying fashion. In the Catholic Church and in the old times, in the only church, which is what we call the Catholic Church, there was regular clergy, regular, meaning that they went by a regula. Regula means a ruler, something just. So if you become a monk or a nun, you are a regular member of clergy, part of a regular clergy, meaning you get up at the same time, you follow a specific rule, the specific rule of the Franciscans or the Dominicans, and you always do the same every single day. You live by a rule, you're regular clergy. But if you're just a parish priest, then you go with the fashion, with the century. You're a secular clergy. But later on, this word secular came to mean just outside the clergy, outside the realm of religion. And so we have today secular versions of natural law. For example, the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights is a secular